Hello, dear student in the third preparatory stage. Today, we will make a general revision on our curriculum in the second term. We will try to solve many types of questions to be facilitated for you. Let's start general revision. Question number 1, illustrate how. It means mention. How to get oxygen from sodium nitrate. Think, how to get oxygen from sodium nitrate. Yeah, I heard you. By heating sodium nitrate, it will produce sodium nitrite and oxygen gas evolves. On heating sodium nitrate compound, it will produce yellowish-white sodium nitrite and oxygen gas evolves. To get carbon dioxide from copper carbonate. How to get carbon dioxide from copper carbonate? By heating green copper carbonate, it will produce copper oxide and carbon dioxide gas evolves. On heating green copper carbonate, it will produce black copper oxide and carbon dioxide gas evolves, which turbid the clear lime water and changed it into milky. How to get hydrogen from hydrochloric acid? How to get hydrogen from hydrochloric acid? When adding any metal to hydrochloric acid, it will produce and release hydrogen gas. But know that this metal must be active than hydrogen to remove it or to substitute it. As aluminum, when added to hydrochloric acid, it will produce aluminum chloride and hydrogen gas evolves. On adding aluminum to hydrochloric acid, it will produce aluminum chloride and hydrogen gas evolves. Another one, we can put magnesium, which can produce magnesium chloride and hydrogen gas evolves also. Write the balanced chemical equation. Another type of questions, which is write the balanced chemical equation. Burning red mercuric oxide. What are the equation of burning red mercuric oxide? The thermal decomposition of red mercuric oxide to give silver mercury and oxygen gas evolves, which increase the glowing of the flame. Red mercuric oxide, on heating, it produces silver mercury and oxygen gas evolves. This is one of the thermal decomposition reaction. Heating blue copper sulfate. The chemical equation of heating blue copper sulfate. Thermal decomposition of blue copper sulfate producing black copper oxide and sulfur trioxide gas. Heating copper sulfate give black copper oxide and sulfur trioxide gas evolves. The sulfur trioxide quickly combine with water vapor in the air to form sulfuric acid, which is very dangerous. So this reaction needs special precautions because sulfur trioxide gas, which evolved from the thermal decomposition of copper sulfate, easily combine with water vapor in the air to produce sulfuric acid, which is very dangerous. Adding a piece of zinc to diluted hydrochloric acid. Zinc will substitute hydrogen, producing zinc chloride and hydrogen gas evolves. adding a piece of magnesium on copper sulfate. Magnesium ripon plus copper sulfate, it will produce magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. As magnesium is more active than copper, so can replace copper in its salt, producing magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. Another type of questions, which is what's meant by. What's meant by alternating current? The current with variable direction flows in two directions, has variable intensity, produced from the electric generator, also used in lighting houses and streets, and in some electric appliances. The alternating current, this is the current with variable direction, variable intensity, produced from the electric generator, used for lighting houses and streets, and operating some electric appliance. What is meant by law of independent assortment of hereditary factors? This is Mendel's second law. When two individuals bearing a pair or more of alternative traits are crossed, the trait of each pair is inherited independently of the others and appears in the second generation in the ratio 3:1. What's meant by hybrid individual? What's meant by hybrid individual? He is the individual who carries a different contrasting pair of genes. One is dominant and the other is recessive. Hybrid individual, he is the individual who carries a different contrasting pair of genes. One is dominant and the other is recessive. Another type of question, which is explain. Copper not react with hydrochloric acid. On adding copper to some of hydrochloric acid, there is no reaction takes place. That's why. That's because copper can't replace hydrogen of hydrochloric acid due to copper is less active than hydrogen, as it located below hydrogen in the chemical activity series, so can't replace hydrogen and no reaction takes place. A red precipitate formed on adding magnesium to copper sulfate solution. A red precipitate is formed on adding magnesium ripon to copper sulfate solution. On adding magnesium to copper sulfate, it will produce magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. As magnesium can replace copper due to copper is less active than magnesium, and copper is located below magnesium in the chemical activity series, will produce magnesium sulfate and a reddish brown precipitate of copper produced. It is better to use alternating current rather than direct current. It is better to use alternating current rather than the direct current because it has variable direction. The alternating current has variable direction. It means it flows in two directions. Also, it has variable intensity produced from the electric generator, transfer from short and long distances. Also, it is used in lighting houses and streets and operating some electric appliance. Aluminum metal delays in its reaction with hydrochloric acid. Why aluminum metal delays in its reaction with hydrochloric acid? Due to the presence of aluminum oxide layer which cover aluminum and take more time to be removed, then aluminum become exposed to the acid and the reaction. Aluminum delay its reaction due to the presence of aluminum oxide layer which take more time to be removed and aluminum exposed to the acid. The reagent selected for saving radioactive wastes must be stable. Why? The region selected for saving radioactive wastes must be stable. That's because to avoid the earthquakes and volcanoes, so prevent the spread of radiations to other areas. The rate of the chemical reaction of hydrochloric acid with iron filling is faster than its rate with a piece of iron, although they have the same mass. The rate of the reaction of iron filling with hydrochloric acid is faster than the rate of putting a piece of iron of the same mass to hydrochloric acid. That's due to the surface area of iron filling exposed to the reaction is more than that of iron piece. So increase the number of molecules exposed to the reaction at the same time, so the reaction takes place more faster in case of iron filling. Food gets spoiled quickly if it's not frozen. Food gets spoiled quickly if not frozen. That's due to increasing the temperature, which leads to increase the reaction speed by bacteria to spoil the food. The higher temperature of the atmosphere increase the rate of the bacterial reaction on spoiling the food. Another type of questions illustrate by balanced chemical symbolic equations. Reaction between water and sodium. 2Na plus 2H2O, they produce sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas evolves and a great amount of heat. Reaction between water and sodium producing sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas evolves with some amount of heat. This reaction needs special precautions. By smaller amount of sodium used, by smaller amount of heat you obtained. So you must or should use small amount of sodium to decrease the amount of heat produced. Reduction of hot copper oxide by passing hydrogen on it. H2 plus black copper oxide, they will produce water and copper reddish brown precipitate. Adding zinc to diluted hydrochloric acid. Zinc Zn plus 2HCl, they produce, zinc will replace hydrogen of the acid, producing zinc chloride and hydrogen gas evolves. Decomposition of nitrogen pentoxide. Nitrogen pentoxide decomposes into nitrogen dioxide and oxygen gas evolves. Reaction between sodium carbonate and diluted hydrochloric acid. Sodium carbonate with hydrochloric acid, they produce sodium chloride, water, and carbon dioxide gas evolves. Adding magnesium to copper sulfate solution. Magnesium plus copper sulfate solution producing magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. Another type of questions, write the scientific term of. The elements whose atoms and nuclei contain number of neutrons more than the number required for their stability. Radioactive or unstable atoms. Chemical process in which the atom loses an electron or more. Oxidation. The flow of negative charge through a conductor. Electric current. They are reactions in which double exchange of ions between two compounds occurs to produce new compounds. Double substitution reaction. It is the change in the concentration of the reactant and product in a unit time. Speed of chemical reaction. It is the substance which speeds up the chemical reaction without being changed or used up. Yay! catalyst. It is the state of an electric conductor, shows the transference of electric charges to and from it when it is connected to another one. Electric potential difference. Another type of questions, give reason for. Some elements are called radioactive elements. That's because it had number of neutrons. This radioactive element has number of neutrons more than the number required for its stability, so they emit unseen radiations. The fridge is used to preserve food. When you want to preserve any type of food, you put it inside the fridge. To decrease the temperature by cooling, to slow down the bacterial reaction, which is responsible for food spoilage. Radiation causes harmful genetic effects. Due to radiation cause changes in the sex chromosomes composition in the living organisms and leads to abnormal birth. Give reason for. Burning of steel skewers used for cleaning aluminum in a jar full of oxygen faster than its burning in atmospheric air. Burning of steel skewers used for cleaning aluminum in a jar full of oxygen faster than its burning in atmospheric air. That's due to the concentration of oxygen increases in the jar than in the air. So the number of molecules of oxygen increases, and also the number of collisions between molecules increases, so the speed of the reaction increases. Give reason for. The importance of rheostat in the electric circuit. The rheostat is very important in some electric circuits. It is used to control the electric current intensity and the potential difference in different parts of the circuit. The reactions between ionic compounds are faster. Why? The reactions between ionic compounds are fast. They are fast reacting compounds as they break down into ions, and the reaction takes place between ions easily. Another type of questions, mention the relation between the secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone and thyroxine hormone when the blood thyroxine level decreases. Again, mention the relation between the secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone and thyroxine hormone when the blood thyroxine level decreases. On decreasing the blood thyroxine level than normal level. Firstly, pituitary gland responses by secreting thyroid stimulating hormone. Its abbreviation is TSH. Secondly, leads to increase in the secretion of thyroxine hormone from the thyroid gland. So, increase the thyroxine level in the blood so it reaches the normal level. Mention 3 ways of protection from radiations. Avoid exposing to more than 5 rem radiation. Wearing radiation protective gloves, clothes, masks to people worked in radiation labs and hospitals. Dealing with radioactive wastes. Radioactive waste should be away from underground water to avoid their pollution. Also, area of radioactive waste storing should be stable, free from earthquakes and volcanoes, and away from animals in caves. Another type of question, mention the function of the gland. Number 1, pituitary gland. It produces growth hormone. So, the function of the pituitary gland to produce growth hormone. What is the function of the growth hormone? It controls the speed rate of growth of body, also determine the height, that the person reach after full growth. The growth hormone controls the speed rate of growth of the body, also determines the final height that the person reach after puberty. Thyroid gland. What is the function of thyroid gland? Thyroid gland secrete thyroxine hormone. Thyroid gland secrete thyroid or thyroxine hormone. The function, thyroxine hormone plays an important role in food assimilation process in the body and also liberates the energy necessary for human body from food. The function of hormone, calcitonin hormone. Calcitonin hormone is secreted from the thyroid gland. Its function is to control calcium level in the body. Thyroid gland secrete two types of hormone. The first one is thyroxine hormone, which is responsible for the food assimilation and liberation of energy from food. Number two, calcitonin hormone, which is responsible for control calcium level in the body. Glucagon hormone. Glucagon hormone produced from pancreas. Its function is to rise the blood glucose level in the body by stimulating liver to convert the stored glycogen into glucose and release it into the blood stream. So glucagon hormone is responsible for increasing the level of the blood glucose in the body. What is the function of insulin hormone? Insulin hormone is secreted also from the pancreas, and it reduces or decreases the blood glucose or sugar level by transport glucose from the blood to cells to utilize it and release energy and store the extra glucose in the liver as glycogen. So insulin is responsible for reducing or decreasing the blood glucose level. What is the function of adrenaline hormone? Adrenaline hormone is secreted from the adrenal gland. Adrenaline hormone is secreted from the adrenal gland, which stimulate the body organs to respond to emergency cases. What is the function of testosterone hormone? Testosterone hormone produced from the two testes. Their function responsible for appearance of the male secondary sex characters at the puberty time. What is the function of estrogen? Estrogen hormone is secreted from the two ovaries in female. Its function responsible for appearance of female secondary sex characters. What is the function of progesterone hormone? Progesterone hormone produced from the two ovaries. They promote the growth of the endometrium or the uterus lining. Another type of questions, what happens when the wire length of the sliding rheostat increased in concerning to the current intensity? Increasing the wire length, so the resistance increased and the current intensity decreases, as the current intensity is inversely proportional to the wire length. We know that the current intensity passing through a conductor is inversely proportional to its length. So by increasing the wire length, the resistance will increase and the current intensity will decrease. Changing the chemical composition of one or more genes. What will happen if changing the chemical composition of one or more genes? Occurrence of genetic mutation due to the change in the nitrogenous base of one gene with another one. Increasing the concentration of the reactant. What will happen if increasing the concentration of the reactant? As the concentration of the reactant increases, so the number of molecules increases and the number of collisions between molecules increases, so the speed of the reaction will increase also. If you put a piece of magnesium in a flask containing blue copper sulfate solution, explain by equation and how the speed of this reaction is measured. What happens if you put a piece of magnesium ribbon in a flask containing copper sulfate, and also write the equation and determine how the speed of this reaction can be measured. Magnesium can replace copper due to copper is less active than magnesium, as copper located below magnesium in the chemical activity zeros, so it will produce magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. This is the equation, adding magnesium to copper sulfate, producing magnesium sulfate and reddish brown precipitate of copper. The speed of this reaction measured by the rate of disappearance of blue color of copper sulfate or the rate of appearance of reddish brown precipitate of copper. Adding of silver nitrate solution to sodium chloride solution. Sodium chloride with silver nitrate, they will produce sodium nitrate and silver chloride due to the double substitution between sodium chloride and silver nitrate to produce sodium nitrate and white precipitate of silver chloride. At the end of this session, with all my best wishes, try to solve many questions and try to work hard. See you later and goodbye.